Just kind of paused a moment and said, "Are you calling about the driver job?" I said, "Yes."
Right. You say yes to everything.
Pretty much, yes, that's what I learned.
Today, my guest is a music editor with over 120 credits to his name, some nominations under his belt, founded his own company, graduated from Oklahoma State and UCLA, and in my opinion, is just a great guy to work with. So please welcome Michael T. Ryan. Hello, Michael.
Hi, Stephen. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being a part of this. I think we're going to have some fun. How have you been doing?
Good. Just trying to stay busy during the stay-at-home time, and luckily I've had a little bit of work I can do. So, yeah, and a lot more family time.
What was your introduction to music?
As a child, my parents always had music in the house, but I was always sort of listening to things on an old record player, and had a, unusual, love of musicals and things like that from an early age. In fact, on the record player that we had as a kid, there was a metal trim piece on the front that would come off and gave me a stick about this long, and I would actually conduct along with the records that were playing. So I had a very early, sort of interest and love of being involved in the music as well. When I was in sixth grade, they opened up availability in the band program. So I decided I first wanted to play the clarinet because we had a clarinet. So that's what I was going to do. But then they said, well, what we really need is brass because we want a big marching band. So we need trombone players. So I said, okay, I'll play trombone. That's fine. So I played trombone all through high school and college, got a degree in music education from Oklahoma State, as you mentioned. And all the while was very in tune to music soundtracks. I can remember getting the Star Wars soundtrack when it came out and playing it just about to where the needle went all the way through.
Yeah.
The Jaws soundtrack as well, and a bunch of other ones like that. And even when I was in high school, there were some times when people had to do dramatic readings and they needed some music in the background, and I actually would find music for them to put in. So already the beginnings of a music editor right there.
So you graduated with a music education degree.
I did.
Well, did you move to Los Angeles after that? I'll ask that first.
Almost, sort of. I had two job offers, one in Oklahoma as a band director, and actually a school outside of Barstow came and offered me a job there as well. So I had always wanted to sort of begin to pursue the film and music side. I'd even considered going to the University of Miami at one point. So I decided to take the Barstow job and moved out to sunny, hot desert Barstow and taught at Silver Valley High School for 1 year there, and then got a job at Temecula Valley High School. They had not had a band program. They had only been open about 2 years. So I was actually able to start the program there and design the uniforms and the fight song and create, a full program there. And I was there for 2 years. And while I was doing that, I was attending the film scoring classes at UCLA Extension. And so I would drive a couple of nights a week from Temecula to UCLA or to Valley College here in the San Fernando Valley and take film scoring classes. And after a couple of years of that, decided I really wanted to try to make my break into the industry. So I moved to Burbank and started pounding the pavement to find composing jobs. I wanted to be a composer.
Now you're hitting the pavement. You're out trying to get that. And what came your way that eventually led to being a music editor?
So as I said, had a cassette tape at that point. It was the mid to late 80s, and a resume, and I would just start going to various places and things I found on guides to music companies and film companies, and tried dropping it off. And one day, just decided I was tired of walking around it, and I would just open up the phone book at home and start calling places and things like that. So I called a number of them asking if they used composers, in-house composers, anything like that. And I called this one particular company called West Productions and said, do you use composers in your stuff and that kind of stuff? And the receptionist kind of paused a moment and said, "Are you calling about the driver job?" I said, "Yes."
Right. You say yes to everything.
Pretty much, yes, that's what I learned. So she said, "Well, mail your resume, and we'll check it out." So, and I'd learned in college, never mail a resume when you can actually take it in person. And this was before the internet, so you had to actually either mail it or take it. So, got dressed real quick, ran down to the place, which luckily was in Burbank as well. Was giving the resume to the receptionist, and the guy who owned the company came out and looked at me and wondered what I was doing. And I told him, and he said, "Well, come back to the office for a minute." So we went back to the office, and at this point, I'm 26, 27, something like that. So he says, "Why do you want to be a driver? It's a young person's, younger person just out of college or whatever. You've got a family, you've got an education, you've been a teacher. Why do you want to do that?" I said, "That's exactly why, because I do have a family and an education, and I want to be in this business." So he said, "Okay, well, we'll give you a try." So I started off as a driver, which is basically a production assistant, as they call it now, or just a gopher. So cleaning bathrooms, filing tapes, running things around. And I guess they eventually saw some potential in me, and they let me sit in with some of the editors to watch what they were doing, the dialogue editors in particular. And eventually they started training me to become a dialogue editor. So I did that, and worked on shows like The Wonder Years and Hooperman, the first version of Parenthood, first series version that came out, a bunch of TV movies and low budget Roger Corman things, and was sort of cutting my teeth on that. And while I was doing that, I was getting to know the music people and the music editors who were working on the projects. And a number of them were from this company called Segway Music. So when I would have slow times, I would go over to Segway, and they let me sit in with their editors and meet the people and see what was going on. Eventually, they had an opening for an assistant music editor. So they asked if I wanted to do it. So I moved over to there and worked my way up from an assistant to a music editor, and eventually a supervising music editor there at Segway, and stayed there for 12 years, I think, something like that.
Wow. And then I know that from there, you eventually created your own company, Mad for Music. Is that correct?
Exactly. I left there in 2001, I think, 2002, and with several other music editors who had also come from there, we formed this company called Mad for Music. We had a small staff of music editors, but we really just sort of managed them more than they were employees. And we had that business for about 5 years, but then government constraints, insurance, unemployment insurance, all this kind of stuff just made it not cost effective the way we were running it, and not really taking a profit off of, a lot from people. So we decided to close shop, and I've been an independent music editor with my own company called MTR Edits since then.
Thank you for watching. For more great videos, subscribe to the Maestro Fox YouTube channel. To learn more about the Maestro, visit StephenAllenFox.com.